All right, everybody. It is Tuesday, November 18th. Welcome to the lunch break here at Fish, North Georgia. So glad you guys could stop by. I know it's going to take a few minutes for some of you to get on, but I hope everybody is having a fantastic day today. And I tell you what, listen, I don't know about taking these days off. I kind of miss doing this in the middle of the day. Mondays, I told everybody I wasn't going to be doing it, but I really honestly kind of miss it, to be honest with you. And I don't know how my week goes. It just doesn't start off right, but I'm glad to be here. Hope every one of you guys are not working too hard today. I hope you're doing well. And so, again, we got a lot to talk about. What a great day. We got a great Livewell coming up tonight. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Got a great guest, Mr. Seth Feider, Bassmaster Elite, is going to be joining us. And you guys know how that is. You know how that is when you get one of these high-profile guests on. Sometimes I even get nervous. And I actually think I'm a little bit nervous about tonight because even though I've met Seth before, I'm just telling you, he's one of those that you just kind of, when he walks into the room, everybody knows he's there, right? So anyway, let's go ahead and take care of some business, guys. Listen, Toys for Tots, it's getting close, close to where we're going to cut off pre-registration December 6th. We have the $5,000. The first place prize is covered. So if you guys want to come fish, I'm telling you, it's going to be the highest paying out tournament around North Georgia on December 6th. Going out of Laurel Park, $80 entry fee plus one unwrapped toy. And we're going to help out the kids from Hall County and Pickens County's Toys for Tots. Plus, there's a little extra money going to be added to the big fish pot. If you're in a Phoenix, there's some contingency money if you win. Get in touch with me if you want to pre-register right now. There's about 17 or 18 that are pre-registered. Normally the last week and a half is going to really load up. That's what it did last year before we had to cut it off. And then a lot of guys did it the morning of. And you can do it the morning of. You absolutely can do it the morning of. But it's going to be a great event. It's going to put a smile on your face. All of us get together and just kind of, enjoy each other's company and all that. So I hope you guys will fish it. All right. So Coleman, Doc Holliday, how you doing out there? And again, I know how it is on Tuesday, especially doing this at lunch. There's no telling who's busy and all that. Juicy T. What person is in charge for sponsorships for the tournament? That is me, Juicy T. So if you want to find out a little bit more about that, hit me up. Shoot me a message on TikTok, and I will, let you know. We're also going to do a raffle. We got a lot of companies. They're going to donate some stuff. We're going to raffle off. There's going to be some lithium batteries. I know I'm going to do some stuff. There's going to be a lot of stuff. Spro, other companies. And so it's going to be a good time. You can do that. We're working on that. Plus, here's another thing. If you don't want to fish or if you can't fish and you just want to come hang out, we can use some volunteers. Because what we try to do is help the anglers get in and get out when they weigh their fish. We're going to have somebody go dump their fish for them. But it's going to be a great time. What's up, Dana, Greg, Stephen Sturgeon? Last night was a great way to start off the kayak podcast. Yeah, and I wanted your opinions on that. Now, eventually, let me tell you the plan with this. And because you guys are part of the family, I want any feedback you guys can give. Constructive criticism, hey, it is always welcome. But my goal with the new Fish North Georgia, once we get it going, is Tuesday night and Thursday night. Those are my nights. Okay, it's the live. That's my bass guys. That's what we're going to do. Monday night, I'm going to train Alex to take over Monday night and just let them run their kayak shows. And then what do you guys think about other shows that you would like to see on the page? We can do a fly fishing podcast, a hunting podcast, outdoor podcast. We can do all of these things. The options are available to us. What would you guys actually like to see? Because I don't want to waste time putting anything out on the page that you guys just don't want to watch. Cast Fishing Australia. Hey, crew, what are you doing there, bud? Hope everything's fine with you. Cody Jones. Been away for a while. Lots of personal things been going on, but happy to be here. Hey, listen, I will tell you this too. Everybody always has the personal things going on. Put me down for the saltwater fly fishing segment. Is this Mick? I want to make sure I want to make sure I'm talking to the right good looking guy out there. But yeah, we can do that. When it comes to personal stuff, Cody, absolutely. I understand that. Hey, life happens, right? Life absolutely happens in dealing kind of with the split. And again, not contentious, but still a lot of, T's to cross, I's to dot, and this and that. Good seeing you, Mick, buddy, and Tracy Coker, Brian Cannon. The kayak show was fun last night. Yeah, it's going to be a good time. We're going to keep that up every Monday night. Go ahead and mark it down. mark it down, and share with your kayak guys. But like, I'll give you an example, just Cody. I realized, not only am I dealing with that and trying to get this side of the business, this new business started up, but my daughter is buying my brother's house, and I'm having to work here a couple hours, go down because it's just down the hill from me, help her fix some things back and forth, and it's crazy. What is the best electric motor to put on the back of my 17-foot bass tracker? Well, Chris Cagle, let me ask you this question. What do you want out of it? Are you wanting speed? Are you going to use it for electric only fishing, tournaments? What do you want? Because you got a lot of options. So let me know in the comment section exactly what you want to use it for, because if you want a tournament fish, I'd probably go with more higher end, the bigger ones. But if it's just for laid back, just chilling out, riding around some of these electric reservoirs, you don't necessarily need one of the ones that are really, really, souped up. I guess that's what you could say. And you can save you a few dollars. I will tell you that Elko, if you go on their site, Elko is doing $300 off, I think, till Black Friday. But Elko, unfortunately, is a little more expensive than your e-propulsions and stuff. But just kind of tell me what's your goal with all that. Drew Patterson, what's up, buddy? From the hospital, man. Dude, I hate that. You are the missus. Let me know. Yeah, Danny, I have an issue with isolating when things go south, but I can tell you that I've kept God close, and he's doing a lot of work in my life right now. I hope all is well with your brother. If you go listen, go read the book of Ephesians. Pick your Bible up, go to the book of Ephesians, especially the second chapter, and I believe it's verse 210. 2:11, 2:12, something like that. And it will tell you about the good works that God has prepared for you, right? So you were created for good works. I know a lot of people, even if you're not a person of faith, that's still something that you still can hang your hat on for good works. Keep them close. Trust me, I'm a heathen, but I believe. I am a believer 100%. And when it comes to that, listen, we've all been down in the dumps. Isolating is something we men do. It's just our nature. Drew, it's you this time. Buddy, hey, shoot me a message. Let me know what's up with you, dude, and how I can help you. But listen, Cody, you can always reach out to me. I've always told you guys you can do that. But we isolate because we're men. We're supposed to be proud. We're supposed to be strong. We're not supposed to cry, all those things. And that's just a lie. But God, listen, it says that. Read the book of Ephesians. Anytime I get really upset, and again, like I said, I'm a heathen, but I will open up. I got the Bible sitting right here beside me. I'll open up that book of Ephesians and read it. It's only, 4 or 5 chapters. It's not a long book. You can read it in 30 minutes, but take your time and read it slowly. And I think if you see what it says about who you are, why you're the way you are, like not the way you are, but why you were created, all that. And then the back half of the book talks about how to live. But that first 2 chapters of Ephesians, listen, it will absolutely set you straight, dude. It will set you straight. But again, don't isolate, man. Hit me up. But always keep God close. Because it's funny though. Everybody says keep God close. He's close. It ain't him that's far away, right? He's there. But listen, anything we can do to help you, buddy, let us know for sure. Yeah, and so the kayak thing last night. There's Alex. He's in there and he did a good job. I'm going to reset some stuff to where Alex can see the questions. And I told Alex today I want him to start dictating that show. Because if you're a kayak angler, I want you to be able to go to that and get the kayak information and see the personalities. But if we can also get a fly fishing show going on, anything else, because we're not just bass fishing North Georgia, we're fish North Georgia. And there's a lot of different things. And a lot of people like things. And again, just because it's a kayak show, I think a lot of you guys last night that were Glitter Rocket guys, you were there. And so all the shows I want to be kind of, versatile in which ways you can go, right? So that you can enjoy all of them. But there's a lot of things that's getting ready to happen. So, anytime you guys have a suggestion, hey, you know what? Have you thought about I had a guy reach out to me. What is today? Tuesday? It was over the weekend. Said I should do a Sunday morning show before I go to church. I'm like, yeah, I act like a heathen Monday through Saturday, and then I go to church on Sundays, and I'm like praying. I'm like, God, I'm so sorry. I know. And my pastor kind of teases me. But they wanted me to do a Sunday morning show. We don't have to get like totally, church, but just something for the guys that's not related to fishing or hunting. It's just a guy show. And gals could be welcome as well. So I don't know, but things like that. But anytime you guys have a suggestion, let me know. And I hope you like the kayak show. I think it's interesting. Some of them guys are hammers. And that's the thing about fishing is sometimes you can go, you know, because a guy is good in a kayak doesn't mean he wouldn't be good in a bass boat and vice versa. Either you're a hammer or you're not. You can fish or you can't. Like I can get in all of them. And again, I'd be the king of the 2-pound bass in every single one of them. And I think I proved that to Alex in the kayak over at Latham. I was well hailing on some daggum 2.5 pound bass, but that was about it. But I do think it's a good thing. We're going to grow and we're going to have a little bit of everything. Plus some major rebranding coming down the line. That's going to help us not only, serve you guys on the local front, but also to help us push out nationally so we can grow this family and all that. So always welcome your guys' thoughts on that. Moving back next week, long live the South. Jeff Edwards, where you coming from again? Hey, listen, I love the South, and I like traveling to all these other places, but there's no place like home. And there's no place like, and I meet some really interesting people, and I enjoy it, and I love it. But I love coming back to the fam right here, you guys, and, of course, my family. Forget your glasses. No, actually, for some reason today, I can see the comment section, so I didn't want to wear them because I was reflecting. I think I'm going back to contacts anyway. My wife doesn't want me to have contacts because I'm too damn good looking, and I'd have to be pushing all the hotties off of me. So she likes me to wear my glasses so I can just keep that kind of like old man nerd look. No, I'm just playing. I think I'm going to go back to contacts, though. Coleman's got to drive down to Savannah for work tomorrow. Wish I could bring a rod. Yeah, absolutely. Well, why can't you bring a rod? Go to Walmart, buy one of them little, pocket fishermen. Everybody ought to have a pocket fisherman in their truck or car or whatever. But today is something too. I want to ask this question that I didn't put it on what we were going to talk about, but it kind of, let me read this. Give me an update on you, Danny. You're obviously not at the shop doing a podcast right now. So what's going on? Everything good? All right. So Cody, you're a little out of the loop. Josh and I are splitting up. So the store is shutting down. The physical retail section is shutting down. I will continue with the online store and website. I will be Fish North Georgia still, all the social media and the podcast I will retain, and Josh is going to be able to concentrate more on his film side of things, and with some fly fishing stuff that he wants to do. So everything is good. Everything is good. Again, part of the plan, right? Part of the plan. So that's where it's at. But listen, I didn't intend on talking about this, but I want to ask you guys this something. People that you grew up with or that have been in your life that were a part of your fishing and outdoors that are no longer here. And the reason that I say that is because today would have been my father-in-law, Bill Perkins, would have been his birthday. And I believe he would have been 80 this year. Would have been 80 this year. When I met my wife, the only thing I did was fish. My dad wasn't a big hunter. I didn't hunt that much, but I got to fish. And then I started dating Amanda and Bill. Eventually, we went through a lot of, listen, when I first started dating my wife, I was not the fine, outstanding human being that I am today. Okay? I tell you, I'm a heathen now. You should have known me 30-something years ago. I would not have wanted my daughter to date a guy like me. But my wife saw something in me, I don't know. And Bill, it was a little contentious to start and everything, but eventually he became my best friend. Up until the day he passed away, he was my best friend. And he was my fishing partner. He was my hunting partner. He was my sit on the couch watching NASCAR partner. Just basically, I had a relationship with him that I didn't have with my dad. I didn't have it. I was not extremely close with my dad. My dad was kind of a Marine, kind of tough, standoffish, and I'm a little more aloof. My dad cut his grass twice a week and had to keep it totally trimmed at 3 inches high, and always washing his house and his baseboards and all this. And I'm up here like, hell, I wish some more leaves would fall so I don't have to cut grass. So we were just two different personalities, but I fit right in eventually with Bill. And I had some crazy adventures with Bill. Some wonderful times. Sometimes that he irritated the shit out of me too. One such time was talking about deer hunting. I told this story at his funeral. And a few of you have heard it. We were hunting up above the R Ranch, and if you guys don't know where that is, it's above Dahlonega. It's bordered by the National Forest. And what we would do is he was a member of the R Ranch, so we would go in there and park and be able to take one of their little roads right up to the National Forest, get out and go hunt. But you drive through these little cabins, and there's a bunch of cabins up there, and they have a little outhouse, showers, kind of like some of the campgrounds that you guys are familiar with. And then one day we're walking to the stand, and there were certain trails we would go up, and I was going to hunt where a tornado had come through years before, kind of on the edge. It was a great deer trail, and what them deer would do is they'd get out on our ranch at night and feed in all the fields and everything, and then they kind of come back up into the woods as the day went on, as the morning went on. And so we walked in. I sat on a great stand, and Bill looked at me, and I'm right. He I don't know why he always wanted to walk me to my stand, but he always would. And so I'm getting ready to get in my standing, and all of a sudden he goes, "I gotta go to the bathroom. I gotta go to the bathroom." And I'm like, "Okay, well, what's that mean?" He said, "I gotta go back to the bathroom." So he starts walking down. Well, I'm not paying attention. I'm getting up in the climber, and by the time I get up there, I get about, I don't know, 15, 20 feet up, and I look down the trail that I expected the deer to be coming in on. And at about 80 yards, I'm watching my father-in-law, pants down, buck ass, just naked, Kevin Thornton style, right in the middle of the deer trail. And guys, I was pissed. I was so mad. I'm like, well, there just went my day, right? And I mean, you don't watch him do his business, but you're kind of looking away like, I just this man, this old man, blah, blah, blah. And he comes walking by because he had to go by me to get to his stand. And he just smiles and waves. And he was missing a couple fingers. He had this pinky and half of his ring finger and the tip of his birdie finger cut off in a sawmill accident. So he always wore gloves, and then bottom two hands were always shaking every time he'd wave at me. But he come up and he threw his two fingers up, and he just kept on going back. I was mad. Man, I look over about, I don't know, 45 minutes later, and what do I see is a couple of big does sitting right there sniffing where he was at. And he just walked right on up the trail, and I, boom, popped one. And so it's just one of them things. And also, too, one night he almost spotlight. Again, it was a little illegal. I told you I was a heathen. He almost shot somebody's horse. He was up in Dawson County. And, man had a great heart because let's go riding. All right, fine. So, I mean, we had the spotlight hanging out of the car. Had a big old spotlight. I mean, good Lord, I probably could have shined somebody up on the moon. But we're up Dawson County, and we go down this road and field. And in the very back of this field is just two set of eyes. And I mean, good Lord, it looked big. And it was just over a hilltop. So you kind of have to see this at night in your eyes. You're looking over a field. It's got a little crest. And at the very back of that field, as it's cresting down, all you see is two eyeballs. Next thing I know, there is a 30-06 coming right across the front of my face. I'm in the passenger seat of like a Silverado. And I'm like, holy Toledo, this is about to happen. And I stuck one finger in my ear. And again, if you animal rights activists, all that, listen, I know this is legal. Okay, this is a story, and the statute of limitations have run out. But I'm holding this thing, and he's looking through there, and about that thing starts walking towards us. And I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. And then it turned broadside. It was the biggest damn horse you'd ever seen in your life. And that 30-06 come back down. And I looked over at Bill, and I was like, you was about to shoot that horse, wasn't you? Oh, no, I knew it was a horse. I said, my ass. I said, that would have been a hell of a drag, Bill. It was things like that we did back in the 90s, early 2000s, that just stories that I probably shouldn't tell. I got a million of those like that, but it was just something Bill and I shared. Fishing our ranch. They got about a 5-10 acre lake up there, and there's an island, and this is where we fished. He went and got him some shiners. We went up there, we got in the canoe. I would row him out to that island, and I'd drop him off. And he'd sit out there with his half gallon or gallon of iced tea, his cigarettes. He was a Marlboro guy. He's smoking cigarettes, and he's sitting there, and he's just throwing out his minnows, and he's fishing while I'm going all the way around the lake. And, of course, I'm throwing artificials and all that. And he just, and I can remember one day hearing this damn commotion. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And Bill's back there, and he is just beating the hell out of this goose that's attacking him. Back there, which is funny as crap to watch from a distance. But apparently a couple of geese, whatever the hell you want to say, made a nest on the other side of the little island. It was all kind of brushy and all that. And Bill was going to walk back there. And I don't know if he was going to pee or whatever. He got too close to that nest. And that thing just absolutely was just waylaying on Bill. And next thing I know, he's got his rods or whatever it was. And they're fighting. They're going at it. And, and I'm sitting there like, this is good entertainment. And of course, he says he won. If you saw it from my point of view, I think he was getting his ass kicked. But again, we all have somebody in our life that we can tell stories like that. Well, Bill's been gone now. And here's another thing about Bill. He died on February 29th on freaking leap year. So we only get to celebrate his day, every 4 years. Because, somebody says, hey, Bill passed away today. No, he didn't. Or March 1st, Bill passed away. No, he passed away on the 29th. And I don't know how you're supposed to get with that after that. But we all have that guy. Do you have that guy in your life? War Eagle the best. Have you ever shot a bear or hog on a national forest in North Georgia? No, I would let a lot of bears walk by me because I don't want to drag a bear. I don't know if you've ever shot a bear or have helped anybody drag a bear, but you're talking about the definition of dead weight. That's a bear. Chris Cagle, real quick, and I'll get down to your question, Coleman. May start fishing some electric motor tournaments, but mainly to get from one end of Latham to the other faster. What would you recommend? I have on my boat, or the one that I had, an Elko EP20. You can get an e-propulsion Navy. I believe it's a 6. Those are equivalent. Those are good ones. If you just want to get there, you can get away with a 3 horsepower or I believe it's an e-propulsion. So you got the Navy 6. It might be the Navy 3. It'll get you there pretty fast. All of them will get you there. But if you want to go fast, you need to get up to something that's at least a 9.9 equivalency. So that would be your Elko EP20. It'd be your Navy 6. I'm not sure what exactly would be in a Torpedo or another brand. But to go that far, I think you should at least try to get to what's equivalent or the close equivalent to a 9.9 gas motor. The Navy 6 is going to cost you $1,000 less than the e-propulsion. To me, the e-propulsion shines in that it's a Yamaha lower end water cooled. Never had a problem with them, and the parts are easy to get. And I don't know, but you can't go wrong with any of them. But that would be my suggestion. Then let's see, Danny, tell the story of the biggest fish you ever lost. The biggest fish I ever lost. It's going to be when I was younger. We're talking 13, 14 years old. Daddy had a pond in the backyard full of big bass. Just old junk pond. And the lake that he had was created so that the spillway went into another lake in a trailer park, Twin Lakes Trailer Park. If any of you guys know that down in South Forsyth, it's got 2 absolutely big, gorgeous lakes full of fish. My dad's lake was made to catch from the creek basically all the mud and just kind of keep it from going in that lake and just at least helping to keep that lake cleaner. And basically, what's up, Kendra? And basically, they just cut off the treetops, flooded it, acre and a half, 2 acres maybe, full of big gnarly bass. Well, I would go out and I would catch brim, good sized brim. I'd put them on a hook and just throw the zip code 33, throw them out there and let them brim just swim between the stumps. And I caught so many big bass, and I didn't have scales back then. But I remember one particular one. It goes under, I set the hook. Okay. It goes under, I set the hook. And you got to understand, I'm fighting it with a zip code 33 and like a 6.6 2-piece pistol grip rod. And probably 42-pound string back then. I don't know. Just, it wasn't the best setup. And so I'm fighting it, and it gets wrapped around the stump. Okay, I'm 13 years old, so I take the old 1436 Lumacraft, and I'm kind of paddling up to it. And I see that fish down about, I don't know, there wasn't a lot of visibility in this water because it was always stained, but about 2 foot down, I can see this big old joker. And he was probably, it's been guys 40-something years ago. But anyway, I went in after it. Let's just say that. I went in after that fish. And I thought where I was at, the water level might have been 6 foot deep. Okay, I'm 5'7". So, it was kind of it's going to be a little bit over my head. But when I went down in to get that fish, what I didn't know is there was some brush underneath that kind of crossed. And my foot went in between it. And basically down, I had about, I'm guessing I was probably 6 inches under the water, and my foot got hung into this. So it would bend a little bit so I could get back up and take a breath, but it was kind of pulling me back down. Kind of like when he's Lake Lanier Ghost, right? But I got my hand on the fish. So my hand's in the fish's mouth. And again, 13 years old, on one side of the stump while drowning on the other side of the stump. And basically, I had to fish, and I wasn't going to let go of this joke. It had been the biggest bass I ever caught in my life. And I would say 9, 10 pounds. It was an absolute tank. The brim that he hit was probably as big as my palm. And eventually, I had to let go of him because I didn't want to drown. And by the time I got my foot out, I can't remember if he got off or broke my line or whatever it was. So that is the biggest fish. Might not have been the biggest fish I've ever hooked, but it was the biggest fish that I can remember that got away. Lesson: don't jump in after a fish in a lake that you don't know what the bottom is. So there you go. I mean, I seriously, what was the most valuable lesson that he taught you? Bill was not, let me describe Bill. Think country. He's from South Carolina. Think country as hell. Old school country. Jeremiah, I love you, but father-in-law probably had a little racial tendencies going back then. I didn't take after that, but he probably did. You know what I'm saying? The typical backwoods country guy had a heart of gold. He was good. He taught me how to work on cars. He taught me how to fix things and how to be kind of self-reliant. That's about what I can say as far as, he didn't tell me nothing about fishing because all he did was throw shiners. But he loved hard. And he didn't have a ton of money, so he had to keep things going. I'll get to that question here in just a second, Edward Folker. So I guess self-reliance and just being willing to fix things that, don't pay everybody to do something. Sometimes you need to learn how to fix things. And it also too kind of makes you feel a little bit more of a man, right? That you can fix your own things. So that was kind of that. He was good. I saw him cry. He was a tough guy. I saw him cry 2 times in his life. The day his mother-in-law passed away, he cried. And the day Dale Earnhardt passed away, we're sitting there watching the Daytona. Some of you guys have heard this. We were watching the Daytona 500. And he was a huge Earnhardt fan. And I couldn't, just because I wanted to rag him, I always rooted against Earnhardt. But I love Junior. Okay. But when Earnhardt went into the wall and everything, we're sitting there. And I believe what came on right afterwards was a basketball game. And so we're just sitting on his couch. And I could tell he's concerned. And he's not moving from his couch. And then, of course, the NASCAR president or whatever came on. And he had that famous speech where he says, turn 3, we lost Dale Earnhardt. And I look over there, and he's got a tear coming out of his eye. He didn't show a lot of emotion like that, but he was my best friend. And so after he passed away, I didn't fish or hunt really hardly for 4 or 5 years. It just wasn't the same. And even to this day, going hunting is not the same. But I still go. I finally got to where I go back fishing and go back hunting, but it's not the same. It really isn't. And I will tell you this, my wife, she's a daddy's girl. And so she took it really, really hard. Really hard. And so, it took a long time to get her back to, and I didn't do a great job. I was not the most empathetic husband in the world back then. But it took a lot of, looking back now, if I can give any of you young guys some advice that are in a relationship, have a little bit of empathy. And learn it if you don't have it. Because I could have helped my wife through a really bad period in her life because I was too focused on, well, damn, there goes my best friend. I had no idea, did not even think to stop and consider what a daughter was feeling, right? And so sometimes we would butt heads, and, I would be kind of like, you just need to get over it. Gosh, don't ever say that. Don't ever say that. These are stupid things that I've done. I'm going to write a book. Stupid shit that Danny has said in his life. Or done. I think it would be a good read and things that you actually can learn something from. Don't have that boat anymore. No, that is part of the split of the company. The boat will be going back with Josh. So I got to get another electric only rig. Jeremiah says, most epic big bass battle of all time, but sucks that the battle was lost. Well, it depends, Jeremiah, on what you're looking at. Okay, I lost the fish, but I won the war because I didn't drown, right? So, I could be co-author of that book. Listen, just wait till you get old. So I'm 53 now. I might start doing that. Just write stupid things I've said or I've done, and I think it would be a New York Times bestseller, at least be a bestseller in the South, because most of the northern people would have no idea what I'm talking about. Edward Foker, what's the fish doing right now? We're right here in Georgia. I don't know where you're at, but right here in Georgia right now, a little bit of everything from what guys have been talking about. There's still some top water going on, depending on what you like. There is, of course, you can start. It's the time of year everybody's starting to throw rock crawlers, crankbaits. You still catch them on shaky heads. I mean, I know on Blue Ridge a couple of weeks ago, Tony caught his fish minoring. I caught mine on basically a Nico-style chicken rig and a jerk bait. Whatever you're confident in, they're doing it right now. They're eating. And then that's what Alex just said in the YouTube comments. They're eating for sure. So whatever your confidence in is, you can do it. Is Seth scheduled for tonight? Yes, sir. Seth Feider is going to be on. What would you ask Seth? Like you guys right now in the comments section, if you could ask, and I'll write some of these down. If you could ask Seth Feider one fishing related question, what would it be? Now we'll talk about it, and I might write it down, but I want you guys to come tonight. I want you to come tonight and put it in the comments so I can say, hey, here it is. This is what, let's just say Alex Purrs wants to know. And the cool thing about our show is basically we're connecting you guys with the pros or with the better than average anglers. So it's a conversation you actually are having with the angler or the guest. I'm just transferring the question. Ask Seth about hair jig fishing. Okay, I'll write that down. How many cigarettes does he smoke in a tournament? My guess would be a lot. When I had a couple beers with him down at ICAST, and what you see, guys, is what you get. Old cigarette hanging around like this. Who's after talking? Super nice guy, though. He's got a hell of a sense of humor. I hope we get funny tonight. Let's see. I would ask Seth about his jig fishing approach to spotted bass on Lake Lanier. Yeah, definitely. Jigs are going to come up because I believe he has started a new jig company, if I'm not mistaken. Still going to be doing some researching on that, but how he would approach spotted bass would be interesting with jigs. Ask him about fishing ditches with a spoon. Ditches with a spoon. We can write that down. I see somebody, would he quit cigarettes for $1 million? I bet he would for at least a short time. I don't know if I want to ask him that question. Finding big schools of spots on Wedowee chasing bait. Some schools tight to the bottom and at 25 feet. Jig and spoon and a cast echo in the Lanier color, 2.75. And that has been what Tony has been doing. I was supposed to go fishing yesterday with Big Bait John over on Latham, but he had some stuff come up, so we're going to try to do that a little bit later. I'm waiting for Clint to show me to show for me to work on his truck. You got to work on Clint's truck. Something's always wrong. Normally it's a busted tire though on his trailer. I think with Seth, I believe when Ryan Sheffield was on, and I'll have to go back and watch it, but I believe Ryan said that if you want to know how to fish a jig and junk, that Seth Feider was the man, the best around at fishing a jig and junk. So I'm positive that's going to come up tonight. Ken Pruitt's already sent me a bunch of questions. Now, Coleman says on West Point, a minnow is working in the ditches right now. I wonder, and we've never talked about it. We only talk about ditch fishing in the wintertime. But I really wonder how many fish never really leave that area. We often talk about how far fish go up and down and all that. And we always say there's always deep fish and there's always shallow fish. But I wonder if there's always ditch fish. You know what I'm saying? Always like you can catch them within 30 yards of that ditch any time of the year. There has to be. If there's bait there, I would imagine so. And I imagine if it's working on West Point, and if, as Tony said right there, chasing bait, some schools tight to the bottom, then I imagine on Chatoog, on Notley, Blue Ridge, Carter's, well, not bottom on Carter's because, good Lord, that's 485,222 foot deep. But I imagine you probably can find that same bite everywhere. And of course, that's what Tony just said right here. I was bouncing the echo off the bottom through the clouds of bait. And, let's see Kendra. That's what old Kendra's got to say. I would love to know what his one technique he would want to improve most on and what he has the most confidence in when it comes to northern largemouth. So I'll put that down. One technique, because I'm sure now he is big on smallmouth fishing too, but you specifically said largemouth. So I think that would be a really good topic to ask him and most confidence in on largemouth. We'll get that down. And again, Kendra, I hope you show up and put it in the comment section as well, because you know me, even though I write it down, I might forget. But I think, see, that's the thing. When we had Easton on the other day, we had so many guys asking so many questions, right? So many guys asking so many questions to Easton that episode went boom. It went so fast. And Easton was like, that was pretty cool. Because most of the time, they get on these podcasts and the guy that's running the podcast, they talk about a tournament, a lot of but they love actually helping guys. So, and I hope tonight is like that. Steven Sturgeon, what dictates the size and weight jig when flipping wood cover? Excellent question. I want to know his most reliable smallmouth techniques and how he goes about catching them in the winter, especially when there's current. See, those are the questions that really can help us all catch more fish, right? And so make sure you come and bring those. I'll write them down, and hopefully I'll remember them. But that's what, when we get these pros on, I like them, like watching them, love what they do. I'm more interested in this kind of stuff than I am as what do you think about the next tournament coming up? And you got to ask those questions, right? You got to ask them that because that's what they do for a living. But at the end of the day, like, I want to know how you catch fish. And how can you help me catch more fish? Kendra says, I will be there. I enjoyed Easton's, was able to get some great info. And that's the thing, is getting you guys info, right? You see them working a certain bait. And granted, listen, we understand. They ain't going to give up every ounce of juice they got, right? But if they can just drop us some crumbs, just drop us some crumbs, just like your question, Steven Sturgeon, what dictates the size and weight of a jig when flipping wood cover? That's something that he can tell you, and you can go put into place that's not going to affect his bottom line. You know what I'm saying? And that's good information, especially if that's what you want to get better at and you want to learn how to do. I like it when we do those. I know a lot of people hit me up when Easton was on, and even Fisher. Fisher did a good job too. How about freaking Fisher? He's going to fish the elites next year. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? I hit his daddy up. I can't remember if we talked about this or not. I hit his daddy up and I'm like, dude, just think of all the hard work you as a dad put in, hours getting that kid out on the lake and instilling in him a little work ethic. And now at 19, you see it paying off. Just how I'm happy for Fisher. I'm even happier for his dad. I think that's crazy. Good question here. Does he trim the guard on a jig? Some seem really stiff. I tell you what, on the jigs that I make, and I've got some that I'm making here right now, I use a medium. Okay, I use a medium. And really, you don't need to. I got a jig right here. The old Farmers right here. A lot of guys do this. I'm just going to stick this in real quick. I don't know how good the visual will be for you guys. Good gosh. Sometimes they go in easier than others. You got to get the right angle. Oh, well, that weed guard was bad. Let me try this. But anyway, a lot of guys, yeah, there we go. That was a weed guard. So a lot of guys will take it right here. And for some reason, they like to trim this right here even with the top of the hook. And for you guys down there on TikTok, even with the top of the hook. I don't know why anybody would want to do that. With a medium, as you guys can see, let me do TikTok first. It goes through easy. I mean, it's really easy up here on YouTube. It's really easy. I don't think there's any reason to ever trim a weed guard. Some guys do. Some guys will take their weed guard and they'll start spreading it out this way. And you guys up here like that, they'll start taking it and they'll spread it out this way to make it wider like this. I don't know why you'd want to do that. But they do. You know, I've watched a Randy Blockett video where he was talking about, I haven't trimmed up this skirt yet. Okay, I haven't trimmed up this skirt, but sometimes he will come in and he will just make some crazy cuts in it. So where it's like a lot jagged. Some guys don't trim. Some guys trim it all the way up to this. I tell you, when I trim it, let me take this thing out. The way I trim a jig is I will pull the skirt. Let me take it back here, everybody can see. I'll pull the skirt back tight, kind of like this. You can see the head, and you can kind of see what I'm doing here. I'm pulling it back like this. What I do is, what Ryan taught me is I go one knuckle from on my thumb past the back hook, so you get this much hanging over, and then I will kind of go the contour of my thumb. So I make kind of a rounded cut like that, and then it comes out, and it's still long enough that if somebody wants to trim it shorter, they can. But it's just very simple that way. I trim mine. I do it at an angle, though some come super long. Well, let me ask you, Kendra, why do you do that? What, just out of curiosity, what is it that makes you want to trim a jig, weed guard? Again, and I guess also too, it depends on where you're fishing. There's sometimes a stiff weed guard might come in handy. Tracy Coker says, I just squeeze it from each side and just cut 3/16 flat at an angle. See, and it works for you, right? I don't. I've just never had a problem with the jig, with the weed guard. Now, again, this is if you have a light or if you have a medium one. Now, if you get into one that's a heavy, for sure. Absolutely. Andy Miller. Trimming the weed guard makes it stiffer. You can screw one up quickly if you trim it too short, making it hard to get a hook set. I agree with that too. I agree with that as well. I don't know. I think each one of us have our own little quirks, right? When it comes to this. Stephen Sturgeon. More than trimming, I have found that bending the strands of a weed guard help with keeping the jig from rolling on its side and snagging cover. Okay, that's a good little tip. I've never done that. And there's old Farmer, Mr. Jig Man. We're talking about jigs. Farmer, do you, on any of those jigs I make for you, do you ever trim up the weed guard? And we use a medium, so I'm curious if you do. I've never done it, but I do know that every one of us, we could get 10 people, the last 10 people that commented, myself and maybe 10 more people, and we could lay 20 baits in front of us, all the same baits, and there will be something that we'll all do a little different with each of them. Farmer right here says, no, I fan them out. Farmer, why do you fan out your weed guards? Drop me some juice right here. War Eagle the best. Do you like it when we ask celebrity angler tough questions when it puts them on a spotlight, or soft ones where he can promote his sponsors? I'm more interested in non-sponsor stuff they use. War Eagle the best. I do this before every show. I ask the guest, is there anything off limits that you don't want to talk about? Some of them might have been involved in a controversy or something like that. And, they may say, hey, look, I really don't want to talk about X. I'm tired of dealing with it. And then I will purposely, if we see that comment come up asking about it, I'll skirt around it. But for the most part, lay it out there. It's a live show. I tell them when we're coming on, hey, I don't know what the hell the questions are going to be from the viewers. And I don't. And I'm very upfront and honest with them. Now, a couple of times we've had some that I kind of like, and they, this is more when they were in the shop. They can see the comments. And a lot of times I'll just say, and let me answer that. As long as you don't go personal at them, I think, as long as you don't go into their personal life, that's off limits. But when it comes to baits, Easton the other night, it's a perfect example. He's a Strike King guy, right? But I forget the name of the jerk bait that he was throwing. It was not a Strike King product. And he was using it, and he answered it right. He said, hey, that's a great jerk bait. There are a lot of great jerk baits out there. They're all, and so they'll kind of answer it that way. But I have no problem. As long as it's not something, you know what I'm saying. There is a line that we can cross. But when it comes to baits, unless you're just really trying to focus on getting them to say something bad about their sponsor or something like that, then I'll kind of like, But hey, if they don't like it, they don't like it, right? It's all personal preference and confidence, I guess, when it comes to that. Absolutely, Tracy. Kendra says, I found I get a better hookup ratio, probably a confidence thing. I get it, 100%. Jeremiah, I found out the weed guard for more surface area coming through snags and easier to set the hook when they pick it up. Not as much material to get the hook point through. Got it. And then right here, When you fan the weed guard out, you lessen the chance of snags and you make the weed guard a little easier to penetrate the fish's mouth, but the correct hook set is the key with a jig. So I get it. So, Jeremiah, you guys are talking about the same thing. Farmer, just for shits and giggles, describe the proper hook set with a jig. And then Coleman said, yeah, we were talking about the OSP Verona, that jerkbait the other night. But he's a Strike King guy. And guys, hey, listen, Paul Bork, who is the rep at Strike King that pretty much handles all that, was watching the show. And so if there was ever a situation where you'd be like, oh, I don't want to say nothing good about that company, or I don't want to admit that I had fished with that bait that wasn't it would have been then. But you have to understand, a lot of them will go to their guys and listen. Guys know and say, hey, listen, this bait performs a little bit better in this circumstance. And even though I'm sponsored by you, I'm going to kind of have to try to use this bait to win this tournament. As long as they communicate, there's generally not a problem. And as long as when they talk about their sponsors' baits, there's generally not a problem. And it works out just fine for them. So, but yeah, interesting on the jig stuff, because I don't. Now, I don't spend as much time fishing a jig as a lot of guys do. I just don't. I tie the hell out of them. I don't have the most confidence in them. Again, how many times you guys heard me say, I'm going out, I'm going to commit to a jig today, and 20 minutes later, I got a shaky head Nico on because I want to catch fish, right? That's the whole point. And that's why I'm not a world-class tournament angler. I just have a hard time. Edward Folker, I've gotten to where, let's see this, to where I like a swim jig. Swim jig, that's another thing. I haven't committed to that. I've caught fish on a swim jig. I've gotten to where I like a swim jig. I said that right. Now, everybody isn't sponsored by Mega Bass or Rapala, but everybody has a Vision 110 jerkbait and Crush City baits in the boat. Yeah, I mean, seriously, they do. They do. And sometimes they're really coy with what they're catching the fish on, right? But, War Eagle, to answer your question, throw the question out there. As we read it, if I look at it and I'm like, and I don't feel comfortable, I won't ask it. And if you guys ever put down something like that and you see me not ask that question, understand that. You also have to read the room with the guest, right? You got to read the room. The only guest that I just really did not enjoy, and I don't have a problem saying it, was Watson that one day, but I think my other guest might have upset Watson. And so he wasn't probably in the best of moods, and it probably had nothing to do with me. For the most part, they answer everything. And for the most part, but you read the room, you can kind of tell. You can tell if they're going to tell you the color, if they're going to tell you the specific bait. You just learn. And after you've done this for a while, you kind of know. Farmer says, but in all seriousness, if right-handed up and to the right, twist your hips. Okay, here we go. Here is his thing. If right-handed, up and to the right, twist your hips when you swing for more power. And I assume if you're left-handed, up to the left, twist your hips when you swing for more power. And the jackhammer in most cases. Farmer's right. I've seen Farmer waylay on some fish. And, but you got to cross their eyes with a jig. I just feel like they lie, and no one really shares now how they catch them. Edward, I would say this. For the most part, you learn the anglers, and yes, there are some out there that probably will not tell you the truth as what they're catching fish on. Then there are others that will, I've had guests on where they'll say, look, I'm really raking them right now on Lanier. And I'm doing it with a fluke, but I'm doing a certain thing with it, and there's a certain color that they're really hitting. And they, at that point, they got a tournament coming up in a couple of weeks, or they don't want to give that information up. So what they will say on the show is, hey, I'm really catching them really good on a fluke. Well, it could be a fluke on a ball head, right? It could be down deep, and sometimes we get it out of them, and sometimes they'll be like, any shad color will do. And, they'll give you the view from 80,000 feet. Now, as far as pros and all, and the day of, I will say this, I believe when Emil Wagner says he's throwing a general, he's throwing a general. He does throw. Now they throw other things, but I believe when he says I threw it and caught that fish on the general, more times than not he probably did. But you have to understand that they are really bound by their sponsors sometimes, and I mean bound by their sponsors. I think success depends on the angler more so than the specific baits, but each lure is a tool for a specific job, and some are just better than others. Yeah, I mean, um, not everybody's a jig fisherman. Not everybody likes jerk baits. Emil is super honest, but he's got some sneaky tricks. Yeah, he does. He wouldn't be a Bassmaster Elite if he didn't. 100%, I agree with you. They're all like that. They are all like that. They'll give you. It's kind of like they'll give you just enough, right? They'll give you just enough. But why would they give you up that little secret if they're going to be competing against you? And that's their living. I 100% get it. That's why our job on the Livewell is to try to squeeze a little bit of juice from them, right? Just to see if we can get what we can get, just to help everybody catch more fish. And that's the way it rolls. So, yeah, I mean, wouldn't you be the same? We'd all love to say, I would love for every angler to say, you know what, here's what I caught them on. Here's how I was doing it. I'm so confident in it. I'm still going to beat you no matter what. Even if you're in the same spot and you're throwing the same thing. There are guys out there like that. 100%. And then they're you guys that catch a big fish and you color the background. And I always laugh at you guys that color the background in your picture. How do you catch them on a fluke, Danny? Well, Edward, I'm not the best in the world at it. But I will say I've caught more on a fluke on a ball head jig lately than I have on topwater. And I consider a fluke a topwater bait. If you're a foot under, whatever. So it may not be true, but you're in the upper water column. I like it better on Lanier and in other places on a ball head jig down. But I will say the one tip that Ryan showed me where you put a swivel about 12 inches up on it helps to keep the nose down. And that's the one thing I always had trouble with was my fluke popping out of the water. Once I started doing that, it runs good. I just have better luck with it on the ball head. That's just me. It's the way I fish. Atlanta Outdoors just went back to the Watson stream. Seemed like he was seething while everyone was talking. I just remember that show. The other guest was great. Well, yeah, I agree with you, Atlanta Outdoors. I don't know. Sometimes people want to be the one, they want the, and I'm not saying Watson was necessarily that case, but some people want to be the show about them, right? And some people don't. Some people don't mind. So that was an interesting night. And of course, he cut it off early. He's the only guest we've ever had to do that. We've had him like Trey McKinney can only stay an hour, but when he left, everything was great. He got off pretty quick that night. And I'm just not going to extend the invitation. Maybe down the line again, but maybe we'll talk, we'll meet, we'll see what the hell happened, what was wrong. But if it was like, well, if the word I comes out a lot, then I'm like, bye. Whatever. I don't give two shits. The background blurring rubs me the wrong way. Trust me, you aren't that important, Coleman says. I just think it's funny. Now, I think it's funny if you're on like a 100-acre lake too. It's like, all right, dude, come on. There's only so many options. But some guys do that. And listen, if that's what they want to do, let them do it. But I always get tickled with those guys for sure. The way I approach any body of water is I start with knowing the time of year and developing a pattern from there because every day is different, Farmer says. 100%. And that's what separates the best anglers from the good anglers from the guys that don't know what in the world they're doing. What's your favorite color fluke? Go to lipstickerfishing.com. Lipstickerfishing.com. And there's a color called Secret Herring. He pours it. I'm just telling you, if you're on a herring lake, money. If you're not on a herring lake, I always like just your pearl white. And then for a colored one that's translucent, Zoom's Disco Violet Green. Disco Violet Green. They're amazing. But Kevin Underwood, I'm telling you guys, that Secret Herring fluke, if you don't own any, and listen, he's my buddy and I fish with him, but I'm not going to bullshit you guys. That color right there is just freaking lights out. And it does catch bass. And he's got it in two sizes. He's got it in, the full size and then the smaller one. If you want to use it on an underspin or something. What's the color? Secret herring. Secret herring. I'm telling you, just get you a pack of them. And listen, I don't know what in the hell he sent them with, but if your wife's a jealous one, don't get it on your hands. That's all I got to say on that. Lipsticker's Patreon is really cool to watch and worth the money. 100%. I give him credit on that as Kevin goes out and he does the live, and there are some days he doesn't catch fish. And that's the realistic. That's realism. A lot of guys, you see their YouTube videos, right? You see their YouTube videos, and it's fish catches, fish catches. Well, that's great editing. If you catch 10 fish in a given day over an 8-hour day, you can make it look like it was boom, 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 a lot of dead hours. Kevin puts it on the line. Here we go. We're out there. And sometimes he's just waylaying on them. And then sometimes he's not catching anything. And to me, I've always told guys that want to do fishing reports, sometimes telling people what isn't working is just as important as what is. I love watching Jim's videos. You might be talking about Jimbo. You need to check out Lipsticker's Patreon. It's worth it. But that color is secret hair. And Tracy Coker says that's what I caught all those on a couple weeks ago. Dude, I'm telling you. No, farmer. You like watching farmers' videos? Yeah. Or you want farmers' color? I'm a little lost on TikTok going back and forth. Kevin is one of the best I've watched breaking down a lake and finding a pattern inside of a pattern, and he is over my head. You ought to fish with him, farmer. You might have. Yeah, farmers' videos are fun to watch. There you go. Farmer, you got a guy over here on TikTok. Edward Folker says he loves watching your videos. Now, Farmer is building, he just sold his house. He's building another one. He's going to get back out on the water. Secret herring is out of stock. I think I got some. I have to go. I'll tell you guys. I think it is a good sign. And he pours them himself. But I tell you what, you know what? I think that might be, I might have some out there and some of the stuff I brought with me. I think I might have some of that. But if you can get that color, I'm telling you, it is good. We tried to do a live together. Okay. It is good. Now, the cool thing about Kevin is it's interesting to me. First of all, everybody talks about forward-facing sonar, and he's great with it. My Lord, the guy can side scan like crazy. It's ridiculous going into a creek and watching him side scan and sitting right there beside you and watching him point things out to you that you would have been like, I wouldn't have had a clue. And if you own a Mega 360, the stuff he teaches you on side scan can help you on that too. But he's a dude. He's a dude. He don't look, and I tell him this all the time, he don't look smart, but my gosh, he is, right? But I love Kevin Underwood. But absolutely, go check out his Patreon. It's good. It's really good. Now, are there other colors that catch bass? Of course there are. Of course there are. That is just my favorite one right now, and it's a confidence thing too, right? You catch fish on a color, you grow with it, right? Didn't we hear that from Easton the other night? Red bug, right? Red bug. That's his confidence one. A lot of guys went on Tackle Warehouse and bought a bunch of red bug. Secret herring's out of stock. Closest thing I found is Zoom's Fluke in green albino. I will tell you this for you guys that don't know the color or can't see it. I will on tomorrow's lunch break, I'll have a pack of secret herring in here and I'll show you the color. The cool thing about secret herring, if you own some, you look at it, then hold it up to the light. Because when it refracts light through it, it looks a little bit different than what it looks when you're holding it in your hand down here. When you're holding it in your hand down here, it's got the chartreuse and kind of bluish green in it and the little translucent on the bottom. When you hold it up to the light, it turns pretty much, it's like a chartreuse translucency thing. And we know that chartreuse spotted bass love for some reason. Smoked albino and green albino are the two that I like other than pearl. Absolutely. That's a good color. And Farmer says it's a legit color. But, at the end of the day, there's probably been more bass caught on a white fluke than anything, right? If you go to Kitech, there's probably been more bass caught on a white French pearl. And then if you look at Kitech, they got 32 colors that pretty close to a French pearl. They're just something a little bit different about them. A little bit of glitter here, a little bit of glitter that. I got some disco green. That's a disco green that to me is my favorite color. And what I will do on Latham, if I'm throwing the flukes, say on a ball head or a scrounger head, if it is cloudy or dark early in the morning, I will throw white or pearl. And I will run that sometimes down on the bottom, sometimes up. And then when the sun comes up, it goes straight from that to a disco. Well, before I got the one from Kevin, it was a disco green. Let's see right here. Let's see. Wonder if the chartreuse fluke craze is over, because I got literally the last pack of anything chartreuse from Hammond's a month or two ago. No, it's not over. Going to Wadowee Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, trying to beat up on some fish and redeeming myself from the beating I took in the deer woods. Listen, Doug, I know you probably didn't kill one, but the time you got to spend, son, and who you got to spend it with is probably worth more than any deer you would have killed up there. Them years are precious, and you know what I'm talking about. Kitech, French Pearl, and Sight Flash are my favorites. Others feel like a scam in comparison. Yeah, I agree with that. Disco Violet works good too. Tracy Coker says. Fishing with Farmer, we are starting to get into the ditch bite part of the year, and with temps we have been having, I say you should start looking in the first deep water out of the backs of creeks. And Farmer, you got to hear a little later, but some of the guys earlier were mentioning the ditch bite kicking in. So for sure, War Eagle, going to call myself backward Southerner now. Thank you for learning something new today, Danny. What did I teach you? And listen, you're German, right? Or where was it at? I forget. I remember absolutely that when I met you over there, that accent. I was like, you ain't from around here, buddy. But you're a good dude, and I appreciate you. But yeah, do you and Doug Rice, you know what I'm talking about? 100%, dude. Worth more than any deer you'll ever kill, spending time with those that you love. Dana was starting to catch fish on the hair jig recently. Imagine that. I honestly think I can't remember if he said that on the show, but I imagine Dana could cut a piece of his hair because he's got plenty of it, right? He could cut some off of. He could stand to lose a couple inches, and he could tie a jig of his own hair, dip the tail in chartreuse, and that joker would figure out how to catch fish. Steve Sturgeon, do you put any effort into the color of the head of your scrounger? No. White or lead? I don't really. And listen, that goes with shaky heads too. You can get green pumpkin, you can get black, you can get all the different colors. I love an owner shaky head. I love the owners just because it's very easy to get a worm on there and their hooks are super sticky. But I'll go with the lead. And I catch just as many fish with a lead head, shaky head, the lead colored, shaky head as I do anything. I think it's, are there times that it can make a difference? Maybe. I'm sure. But I've caught just as many fish on that. And I always go back to the A-rig, right? There's a lot of junk in there for them to take their eyes away, but they're keying in on those shad on the end. So I think same thing with a shaky head. I don't think they really give it that much thought. And again, to the guys that jigs, if you're one of those guys that say, "Hey, I need 2 strands of chartreuse instead of 4," I'm telling you, I don't think that fish is sitting there going, "I'm not going to hit that jig because it's got one too many strands of chartreuse in it." That is absolutely 100% for your eyeballs. I don't think the fish cares. Now, I know a lot of people give them a lot of credit for being smart, but at the end of the day, their brain is the size of your pinky fingernail. So, again, Steven Sturgeon, I don't. I really don't. And I honestly think if everybody just threw a green pumpkin worm, we'd probably catch all the fish we wanted to catch. If everybody just threw a white top water, we'd catch all the fish we want to catch. I don't know. Danny, do you think you can get Swindle on as a guest? I'm working on it. That's a good thing about Fisher, right? And his dad, Ryan. Ryan fished, was a partner with Swindle, and Swindle taught Fisher how to, or not taught him how to fish, but really worked with him on his fishing technique. So now I got to end, plus with Slick and all that. I'm working that angle. You have to understand, though, Swindle's a tough, he's a tough get. He's at the top of the food chain when it comes to personalities and getting them on, right? If you want to look at a podcast that's got big numbers or something like that, Swindle's generally involved. So, but I do think if there was, if there was about 5 or 6 pros that I'd like to sit down and drink a beer with, and I don't know if he drinks or not, but I'd like to drink around a campfire. Swindle would be one. Drew Cook, just because I love the hell out of Drew Cook. He would be one. I'd like to pick Connell's brain. He might be one. I don't know if his personality would match in with ours, because we probably get a little silly and stupid. Patrick Walters would be one. Patrick Walters would be one. And you got to pick a young guy. I mean, a meal's always a good time and all that. But I'd love, I'd love if I could sit around a campfire with Welcher, Cook, Walters, Swindle, maybe one more. And we just sit there like at the Deer Club and just shoot the bull. And maybe Seth, because Seth likes beer. Feider would be a good one. We might could throw Robertson in there, but we might end up in jail. I don't know. It'd be a good time, though. If color mattered, bass would be biting the float instead of the worm. Maybe. It may be, for sure. But yes, Jeremiah, I am working on it, buddy. One thing that fell off in recent years because of forward-facing sonar is dragging an underspin on the bottom, letting the blade tick on the rock. Great ditch technique. Yeah, and we've had that conversation about the underspin on the bottom. Trip Palmer said that night, because I was like, why? It didn't make sense to me. But I guess because when I think on the bottom, I'm thinking solid contact and the blade being on the bottom. But if you're kind of hopping it along and all that, a little bit, slow rolling it, ticking it, Trent Palmer said the underspin superior to the ball head. He did. So, yeah, 100%. All right, guys, look, hour or so, we're going. I got some work I got to do. Now, listen, tonight, 8 o'clock. Now, for you on TikTok, you got to watch it on YouTube. Tonight, 8 o'clock. You guys come. Oh, hold on a second. And, Danny, if you want to give out the way I showed you how I caught them before forward-facing sonar in the ditches, you can. Let's save that for tomorrow at lunch. That'll give me something to talk about tomorrow at lunch. We'll talk about the ditch bite and ditch technique. So that will be really good. And I'll drop that. But tonight, 8 o'clock, of course, Seth Feider on YouTube at Fish North Georgia. You guys come join us. It's going to be a good time. But listen, seriously, guys, bring your freaking questions. Because it's not every day you get to ask Seth Feider. Kenneth's like, yo, LOL. So, like, I've known how farmers done that for a while. And he said, when he showed me, he goes, don't tell nobody right now. And I ain't told a soul. I've done it a lot, but I ain't told a soul. But listen, it's legit, dude. It's legit. And I do it, and I don't talk about it because, again, can't talk about everything. But you guys come back tonight, 8 o'clock, and we'll have a good one. But listen, like I said, it's not every night you get Seth Feider where you can ask questions. So you guys better bring it. So I'm going to get rid of my TikTok folks here. You guys will see you tonight. And then you guys over here on this side. Don't work too hard the rest of the day. Take it easy so you have all your energy. And, Farmer, you'll be back in a boat before you know it, my friend. Maybe you and I need to pair up and you need to fish electric only with me. This coming up here. I'll let you run the trolling motor. I'll even let you run the trolling motor. We'll have to figure out the boat situation, but we'll do it. Anyway, you guys be good. I'll see you tonight, 8 o'clock. Have fun. Stay safe. Love you guys. Out.